In this clip, former CIA John Kiriakou explains Israel's influence on America and its intelligence community. Check it out.
I'm very worried that the Israelis are going to attack Iran again. I'm worried that the Israelis aren't going to respect the deal that appears to be in process in Gaza or the West Bank. I mean, we're not talking about the West Bank,
right?
Where just 2 weeks ago a Christian village ceased to exist because settlers from New Jersey took all their houses. You know what happens next in the West Bank?
From New Jersey?
Yeah, there are a lot of synagogues in New York, New Jersey, Toronto that have these things called real estate seminars, where you can put your name on a list, and then they call you and say, "Hey, house just opened up over here in this Arab village that's not Arab anymore. Come and take your house." And 2 weeks ago, the village that the Israelis cleared out was one of the last remaining Christian villages. Drives me crazy.
Wow. I had to look this up. There's no way they're selling land during this conflict, right? But this is actually happening. Israeli real estate firms like My Home in Israel, Israel Home, Remax, and Harry Zahav are actively marketing and selling properties in illegal West Bank settlements to buyers, especially Jewish Americans, via U.S. events and online. This violates international law. There are even protests going on amid ongoing occupation. Isn't this nuts? Holy shit.
So what do you think their overall strategy is? They eventually want to just take over all of Palestine.
I think we should believe the Israelis when they tell us that they believe in greater Israel, which includes the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, the southern quarter of Lebanon, a strip in southwestern Syria. And, I mean, the map that Netanyahu had at the UN the other day included the Sinai Peninsula, for heaven's sake. What's that all about?
This is the Sinai Peninsula for visuals. Let's watch Netanyahu's speech so we can get the full effect.
I presented here last year. It's a map of a blessing. It shows Israel and its Arab partners forming a land bridge connecting Asia and Europe between the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Across this bridge, we will lay rail lines, energy pipelines, fiber optic cables, and this will serve the betterment of 2 billion people. Now look at this second map. It's a map of an arc of terror that Iran has created and imposed from the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean. Iran's malignant arc has shut down international waterways. It cuts off trade. It destroys millions, destroys nations from within, and inflicts misery on millions. On the one hand, a bright blessing, a future of hope. On the other hand, a dark future of despair.
They took the Sinai in the '67 war and gave it back after the Camp David Accords. So this, yeah, I'm worried about Israel. Yeah.
What are you worried about Israel's influence on American politics? Because that's one of the things that's coming to light over the last couple of years since the invasion, where people are paying more and more attention to Israel, and then also seeing what happens when you criticize Israel.
They are very quick to primary elected officials who criticize Israel, and usually they'll win those primaries. AIPAC is very well funded. It is very, very well organized. It's the gold standard of lobbying organizations. I've never understood why AIPAC doesn't have to register as a foreign agent with the Justice Department when everybody else does.
John is referring to FARA, which is the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which he touches on next. An interesting fact about this is that John F. Kennedy was the one to put his foot down and ordered the American Zionist Council, which later became AIPAC, to register under FARA. This was not long before his assassination. How weird is that, right?
Why is AIPAC special that it doesn't have to register? You know, back in 2008, I guess it was, I won a very small contract to write, it was like 6 op-eds for the Abu Dhabi Chamber of Commerce. And it was because I was going to write op-eds that supported American business in Abu Dhabi, right? So I had to go on FARA.gov, FARA.gov. It's the Foreign Agents Registration Act. And there's a form there. And I said, yeah, I took, I won this contract. It was like 30 grand to write these 6 op-eds. And the source of the income is the Abu Dhabi Chamber of Commerce. And here's my name and my address and my phone number. Enter. Done. I registered.
Sounds easy, right? But this would mean that AIPAC would need to disclose their activities and finances. I'm sure if we knew all the transactions going on, it would be pretty telling as to what's going on in our government. Not that it already isn't being exposed all over the place, but this would probably be the icing on the cake.
So if you're doing something, anything, on behalf of a foreign government, you have to register. Except if you're AIPAC. And I just don't understand that.
That seems so insane. And whenever you see like just dozens of senators and Congress people going over to Israel, you're like,
oh man, my very first week in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee staff, these lobbyists came in, and it was a parade of lobbyists all the time, every day. They're coming in asking for something. So these 2 guys came in, could not have been any friendlier. Hi, welcome to Capitol Hill. I said, oh, thanks. It's not my first go-round. I've worked on Capitol Hill before. Well, we wanted to welcome you with an all-expenses-paid trip to the Holy Land. I said, thanks, no.
John made it seem like they are Jehovah's Witnesses coming door to door to recruit. Pretty funny. I just can't believe they are infiltrating the intelligence community too. So insane.
I can pay for my own vacations, but I appreciate it. Oh, nonsense. We'll take you to all the Christian holy sites. Thank you. I've been. I don't want to go. And some of my colleagues went for their all-expenses-paid trip to the Holy Land, courtesy of AIPAC. I was like, yeah, no, thank you. Not interested.
yeah, and that's just the beginning of it. Mm-hmm. That's nothing compared to helping out your campaigns.
Yeah. Helping out if you are pro-Israel. If you aren't, then they are pretty quick to primary you and get you out. Just ask Thomas Massey, U.S. Representative for Kentucky.
I have Republicans who come to me and say, that's wrong what AIPAC is doing to you. Let me talk to my AIPAC person. By the way, everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What does that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are, firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
I don't know how it works on the Democrat side, but that's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them, and they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them. So I've had
That's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to, dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
It doesn't benefit anybody. Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
Well, I'll tell you, I tell this story a lot, but I think it's appropriate here. I had been at the agency for 2.5 months, maybe about 2.5 months, and I was told to give my very first liaison briefing. So this is going to be the Israeli Mossad and Shin Bet.
You've probably heard of the Mossad. The difference between the Mossad and Shin Bet is Shin Bet operates internally, while Mossad works outside of Israel's borders.
And I was going to be one of about 8 analysts, and I was the most junior, so I would go last. Well, we don't allow the Israelis into CIA headquarters. We used to. But every time they would come, they'd say, hey, we brought gifts. Here's a gift for you. And it's all packed full of listening devices and batteries. And
every one of them?
Every one of them. And we'd say, you guys, you can't come back here every single time and try to bug our conference rooms.
What'd they say to that?
Oh, sorry. Well, we're not sure how that happened. So we're like, yeah, you can't come in here anymore. So we rent an office where we meet the Israelis off campus.
Wow.
Yeah, because you just can't trust them. So
That is so crazy.
That is actually insane. It's crazy how that's tolerated from quote-unquote America's greatest ally. There's even more absurd reports on this that involve Israel spying on Trump too. I'll let Max Blumenthal tell this one.
Yes, Trump is scared. And what I learned from this source, who is a Trump insider, someone who talks to who talks to people in the Oval Office, people close to Trump, is that during one of Netanyahu's many visits to the U.S. this year, some figures in his retinue, Israeli agents, placed electronic devices on emergency response Secret Service vehicles. The Secret Service found them and they reported this to the White House. These would be emergency response vehicles that would respond to an incident potentially involving the president. All right, some people watching this might be dismissing me as crazy right now, and I wasn't able to confirm this. I can't just call up the Secret Service and have them tell me that. But in 2019, 3 former high-ranking U.S. officials from the Trump administration told Politico that listening devices were found around the White House and at sensitive locations across Washington targeting President Trump. They wanted to listen to his calls and communications, and they were planted by Israel.
We go to this briefing, and it's just 2 people. It's a woman who was the Mossad officer and an older guy who was the Shin Bet officer. So because we were all overt, we were giving our true names. And first the senior political officer gives her briefing, and then the econ guy and the military guy and the oil guy, and finally it comes around to me. So I said, my name is John Kiriakou, and I'm going to brief you on Saddam Hussein's current psychology. And the Shin Bet guy goes like this. He goes, spell your name? So I spell it. And he writes it down. And he's looking at me over his glasses, and he goes, you are Jewish? And I said, I am not recruitable. Don't even think about trying to recruit me. Afterwards, I was furious. I went back to the office. My boss said, how did it go? I said, that son of a gun Shin Bet guy tried to recruit me. Everybody started laughing.
This sounds like a scene from a damn sitcom. This goes to show how normalized Israel's tactics are in the U.S. government.
I said, why is that so funny? And he said, they've done that to every single one of us. It's like they can't help themselves.
It's crazy how effective it is, though.
Oh, yeah. Look at Jonathan Pollard. Now he's running for the Knesset. Bastard.
Jonathan Pollard was rejected by the CIA before beginning his career as a U.S. Navy intelligence analyst. He later became a convicted spy for Israel. Like John is saying, he is now running for the Knesset, which is basically Israel's version of Congress in America, but it works differently.
It's just crazy how much influence one country has.
Yeah, it really is.
On a much bigger country.
Much bigger. And they have such a tiny population.
I know. What is it, like 9 million people?
Yeah.
Pretty gangster. It's pretty gangster.
Kudos.
Right?
Kudos to them.
It's like Chicago taking over the world.
That's right.
Right?
And saying, we're going to do things our way.
Not even Chicago. Chicago might have more people.
Nope. Not even close, Joe. Chicago, as of 2025, has 2.7 million people. The closest in population to Israel would be New York City at 8.5 million people. You're welcome.
Fuck. Wow.
Thank you so much for watching.